Okay, let's talk about generative AI. It's everywhere, right? And it's transforming pretty much everything. But if you're in cybersecurity, you know there's a flip side. It's a brand new, massive challenge. So the big question is, how do we secure this incredibly powerful, constantly changing tech without, slamming the brakes on all that cool innovation? Well, that's exactly what we're going to unpack right now.
So here's our game plan. First up, we'll talk about the new challenge AI brings to the table. Then, we're going to get to the single most important question you need to ask. Are you buying your AI or building it? After that, I'll show you the AI security matrix. It's basically your map for this new world. And finally, we'll zero in on where you need to focus first to get the biggest bang for your buck.
All right, so first things first. Why do we even need a whole new framework for this? Well, it's because there's this huge gap between the initial excitement of, wow, look what AI can do, and actually putting it to work safely and securely. And that's the gap where a lot of companies are getting stuck.
Some security folks at AWS just nailed it with this quote. They said, generative AI has captured the imagination of organizations, but cybersecurity practitioners must assess the risks at a rapid pace. And that's the core of the problem, isn't it? The tech is just moving at light speed, and security teams are playing catch-up. It's the classic story of innovation just blowing past governance.
But here's some really good news. You are not starting from scratch. At the end of the day, these generative AI systems are still just data-driven computer systems. That means all the fundamentals of good cloud security, things like managing who has access, protecting your data, staying compliant, and modeling threats, all that stuff you've been doing for years, it's all still absolutely critical. It's your foundation.
And that foundation brings us right to the heart of the matter. Your entire security strategy. Everything you prioritize, it all really boils down to the answer to this one simple question. Are you buying your AI solution or are you building it?
So you can really boil this whole complex world down to two simple paths. First, are you buying AI? This means you're just using a tool that's already built. Think of a public chatbot or maybe an enterprise app that has some cool AI features baked in. Or are you building AI? This is where you're getting your hands dirty, creating your own application, maybe even your own model from the ground up. And trust me, the level of ownership and responsibility you have, it's a night and day difference between the two.
And this buy versus build idea really unfolds across a spectrum of 5 different scopes. You start over here at Scope 1, which is like using a public chatbot for some marketing ideas. That's the least amount of ownership you can have. And you go all the way to Scope 5, where you're literally building a new model from scratch. The best analogy? It's like renting an apartment versus designing and building your own house. The more you build, the more you're on the hook for.
So once you figure out your scope, you need a way to navigate what that means for security. You need a map. And that, my friends, is where the Generative AI Security Scoping Matrix comes into play.
And here it is. This matrix is your guide. Look, across the top, you've got those 5 scopes we just walked through, from buying all the way to building. Then, down the side, you've got your key security disciplines. What's so great about this is that it instantly tells you where to put your energy. See that? If you're just using a consumer app that's Scope 1, your biggest worries are governance and legal. They're marked high, but your technical controls, low. Why? Because you don't own the tech. But then, as you slide across to the building side, you can see that focus just completely shifts. It's a huge change.
And let's just quickly touch on what these disciplines are. Governance is your rule book. Legal and privacy is, not breaking laws like GDPR. Risk management is figuring out what could go wrong before it does. Controls are the actual things you do, the tools and processes to stop bad stuff from happening. And resilience is all about making sure the system actually stays up and does what it's supposed to. These are the 5 lenses you're going to look through for any AI project.
Okay, you've got the map, you understand the lay of the land. Now let's talk strategy. Where do you focus first to make this thing truly actionable?
All right, if you're in the buying world, scopes 1 or 2, your number 1 priority, your starting point is governance, period. You have to become an absolute expert on the terms of service and the data policies of whatever tool you're using. You need to know what happens to the data your employees are typing into that prompt. Where does it go? What can the vendor do with it? That's your biggest risk right there.
Now, let's flip to the building side. This quote is a massive wake-up call. If you fine-tune a model with your own sensitive proprietary data, that data becomes a permanent part of the model. It's baked in. You can't just slap permissions on it later or easily filter it out. Anyone who can access that model can potentially access everything it was trained on.
This new world also brings new kinds of attacks. Prompt injection is a really big one.
Think of it like a SQL injection attack, but for language models. An attacker can write a sneaky prompt that basically tricks the AI, causing it to ignore its original instructions and do something malicious, like spit out sensitive information it shouldn't have access to.
So that leads us to the million-dollar question for so many businesses out there. You want the AI to be useful, to reason over your private company data, right? But you absolutely cannot afford to just bake that secret sauce directly into the model. So what's the solution?
Well, the answer is a really clever technique called Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG for short. The best way to think about it is like giving the AI a secure research assistant. Instead of training the AI on your entire private library, when a user asks a question, the assistant just fetches the 1 or 2 relevant documents from your secure data. It hands those documents to the AI along with the user's question and says, "Here, use this to answer." So the AI gets the context it needs just in time, and your sensitive data never gets permanently absorbed into the model's brain. It's a game changer.
So let's bring it all home. If you walk away with just 3 things, make it these. First, scope is everything. Always start by figuring out if you're buying or building. Second, the matrix is your guide. Don't guess where to focus. Use that chart to spend your time and money wisely. And third, control your data. Especially when it's sensitive, use patterns like RAG to keep it separate and secure. So we've laid out a framework, a mental model for how to tackle this huge, complex topic. But the real value comes when you put it into practice. So I'll leave you with this.